everybody, welcome back to a special edition of Poems and Stones. Something that only happens every 5 or 6 years is happening today on the farm. We are planting cherries. It's going to be a great day, sun's shining. Let's get farming. So this week on the farm, we're going to plant about 10,000 cherry trees in 2 different orchards here. We're getting started here Monday morning. It's a beautiful day out, sun's out. The trees look great, they're a great size, the roots look good, so we're pretty excited about this. This should be a good day. So before we get too far into the video, I want to thank our sponsor for this week's video, Hudson Inc. So in order for you guys to understand how the GPS works and how we apply it to planting the cherries, Ryan came up from Hudson Inc. to explain exactly what it does. That way you guys know exactly what's going on the tractor and how we're using it here.
Hi, I'm Ryan Cradaville with Hudson Inc. I'm a precision support specialist out of the Williamsburg location, and today we're going to go over a distance strip system on Cherokee tractor. So for the distance strip system, there are 4 major components that we use. 1 being our John Deere display, 2 being a steering controller. In this case, we have a electronic steering wheel, AutoTrack Universal 300. The 3rd is what we call an application controller that would be installed in the console of this tractor, hidden away to make it look a little more factory. And then we also have a GPS receiver, which is up on the roof, which we'll show you in a little bit. But on our distance strip system, we use this system to plant trees, and we can set it up in multiple different ways. We'll see here that we're planting cherry trees, and we have different offsets and different trips that we can set in order to customize it to however the customer wants their trees planted. First, we would set an origin point, like you can see there. And this will tell us where the start of our tree plantings are. And then when we press the start button, you'll see that we have a next trip. So in that distance, we will then plant another tree, and we will continue based on what the distance between the trees are. It'll just continue to count up. On this particular system, we are using a light to actually show where the distance is met and when we need to have a tree planted. So when there is the light flashes, we will then have the person on the tree planter put the tree in the ground. So as you see, we have this system on a red tractor. So even though it is John Deere green technology, we can put this system really on any make or model of tractor. We put in a harness for power and a harness that'll tap into all the John Deere technology, and then we are able to put those components all together to make them work in unison no matter what the situation is.
So I had mentioned to Ryan previously that we were going to be planting apples and cherries around this middle of November, and he said, well, why don't I come up, I'll calibrate the GPS, do any updates, and we'll make sure that everything's ready to go, which I thought was really nice of him. We didn't really ask him. He made the time to come up here and make sure that our stuff was ready. The knowledge of the staff at Hudson is great. I've solved, I think, 1 or 2 of those problems over the phone or over FaceTime with Ryan, and they continue to impress me with their knowledge and their ability to come out and fix a problem quickly when we need it done. So here's the semi-trailer. When we started, we had trees stacked up here to the door. They said there were some branches that were sticking out of the bottom. So this is what the inside of the trailer looks like. We got roots against the wall. It's the best way to pack them in, literally from the floor, and they are touching the ceilings. So these are our, look at the roots. Great looking roots. These are Mahalo rootstock on tart Montmorency cherries is what we're growing. So we got guys on the trailer and the tractor, and they come and bring out bundles of trees. Instead of putting them directly onto the planter like we do in the apples, we're gonna go ahead and bring them out here and put them in bundles of 10. And when we drive by this direction, we'll pick up 1 bundle. Then when we come back down the next row, we grab the 2nd bundle and put them on the planter. So here we have the tractor and the trailer. They can fit I don't know, a lot of trees. I didn't count. So we just got this and they pull this through, and then the Ricky on the truck is handing the trees off to these two gentlemen here, and they place them out in the bundles. So as you can see, it's a little bit of a different type of operation compared to the apples. It's just two guys here at the planter. One guy handing the trees, making sure he's ready. Then we have a small light on the cherry planter here. He's waiting for the light to flash, which comes from the distance strip in the tractor. And then he knows exactly when to put that tree in the ground. This spacing between this tree and this tree is 15 feet. And between the rows here is 21 feet. We've kind of flirted with some other distances, and they can be too packed and too tight, crammed, so we kind of switched it up and went with 15 by 20 this time. This farm also has one of the best views, I think, of any of the other orchards. You got a great look at Elk Lake right here. The video doesn't really do it justice. You can't get the full view of it, but man, talk about a gorgeous, gorgeous farm. The process is going to be a little bit slower compared to the apples. Last week, in last week's video, we did 18,000 trees in about 9 to 10 hours. But the cherry trees, there's such a larger gap in between each tree, and they're so much larger that it just takes a little bit longer. And also, we only are doing a 1-row planter behind us, not doing 2 at a time. So it's going to be a little bit slower. We're not going to be able to put as many trees into the ground at one time, but we're going to put our heads down and hope to get about 4,000 in today. So it's going to be about a three-day, 2.5 day project in order to get all of this land planted here this week. So you can see as we start over on a new row, we have our mark in the ground here. This is where we aim to start the first tree. He's going to get the tractor lined up north to south on the line inside on the screen on the GPS. And as we get close, what we're going to do is line this first tree up here. Then we're going to set the distance trip to go mark there 15 feet off of this line all the way down to the other side. So the first tree is in here, and now we're on our way. So this is what a cherry tree kind of looks like. We got the trunk down here, then we come up. We prune our trees with the central leader system. So as you can tell in the past, we've cut branches off on side to side here, and we like to choose one strong leader in the center. So come springtime, what we will do is we'll come prune all of these branches off of here, because what we want the tree to focus on doing is growing up first and then growing the branches out later. We're looking for the trunk diameter to grow more. That's why in cherries it's a longer return to get some crop on your trees, because these trees really need to get to a bigger size and the trunks really need to get bigger before we can use the harvesters on them, because the way that we harvest the cherries, the machine actually grabs onto the trunk. And what will happen is if they're too small in diameter, the strength of the machine will actually flatten and crack the trunk, and then that tree will probably die or won't really have an opportunity to grow into a full tree in the future. So we try and hold off as long as we can before harvesting any new cherry trees like this. So it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. We're at 3,395 trees planted so far. I think we're gonna get to that 5,000. We started over by the barn way over there, and now we're making our way over here. We got some short rows, and then back on the far side we have more rows that we're gonna have to finish up tomorrow. So we're gonna get the trees in the ground that are already out, and then we're gonna keep the rest in the trailers inside with some water on them in order to keep them saturated for the night. Again, I want to give a huge shout out, thank you to Hudson Inc., our sponsor of this week's video here on Poems and Stones. It's really easy working with them again, and it sounds like they're trying to make some moves into the specialty crop world with a addition of a smart spray program that we may or may not be working with them in the future. Maybe doing a demo here on Poems and Stones of that new equipment next year in the spring, so looking forward to that. If you missed last week's video about us planting 18,000 apple trees in one day, you can click on this right here and you can check that video out. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.